July 3rd, 1976, Saturday afternoon, Duisburg, West Germany. Oscar Müller climbs the stairs toward the third-floor toilet in his apartment building. For days, something has been wrong. The smell, thick, sweet, organic, fills the hallway like a warning. Before he reaches the door, his neighbor blocks his path. Short, balding, cheap glasses, the quiet man everyone calls Uncle Joachim because he gives candy to children. "Don't use it," Joachim Kroll says flatly. "The pipes are blocked." With what? Guts. Oscar laughs nervously, surely a sick joke. But when he looks into the bowl, the laughter dies. Dark water, almost black. Something floating on the surface that clearly isn't normal. Something that looks disturbingly organic. At that exact moment, police are searching the building for 4-year-old Marion Ketter. She vanished yesterday while playing in the courtyard. Her mother has been knocking on every door, voice breaking, asking if anyone has seen her little blonde daughter. Oscar runs, grabs the first officer he sees. Minutes later, police are inside Joachim Kroll's apartment. On the stove, a pot simmering gently, potato, carrot, and something else that shouldn't be there. In the refrigerator, wrapped portions labeled with dates, stacked like Sunday leftovers. In the corner, a cheap inflatable doll dressed in women's clothes, wig, makeup, staring blankly at the room. The officers turn to Joachim. He stands in the middle of his apartment, hands at his sides, face neutral. "What is this?" He tries to lie, says it's rabbit stew. They press him. He pauses. Then, in the same flat tone, admits the truth about the missing girl. Later that day, plumbers pull apart the pipes. Inside, evidence that confirms their worst fears. The quiet neighbor, the man who cleaned toilets, the man who smiled at children and gave them candy. For 21 years, he'd been taking victims, and no one noticed, until a toilet couldn't swallow anymore. This is the story of Joachim Kroll, the invisible monster who lived one door away. To understand how Joachim Kroll became what he was, you have to go back to the beginning. April 17th, 1933. Hindenburg, Upper Silesia, on the German-Polish border, now the city of Zabrze in modern Poland. The year Adolf Hitler comes to power. The region is coal, steel, and grinding poverty. Joachim is born into a coal miner's family as the 6th child out of at least 8, possibly 9. His father works deep underground for barely enough money to feed the family. His mother struggles to raise too many children in too little space. Food is scarce. Warmth is scarce. Space is scarce. Everything is scarce. Then the war comes. When World War II erupts in 1939, Joachim is only 6. His father is drafted into the Wehrmacht and sent to the Eastern Front. The letters stop coming. Eventually, the family learns he was captured by the Red Army and will never return. Whether he died in a POW camp or simply disappeared into the chaos, no one knows. For young Joachim, the father figure vanishes completely. By the time the war ends in 1945, Germany is in ruins. Millions are displaced. The Kroll family, like so many ethnic Germans, is forced to flee west. They end up in cramped refugee housing in North Rhine-Westphalia, in the industrial Ruhr region. 8 people, Joachim, his mother, and 6 sisters, are crammed into a 2-room apartment. The older brothers have already left. Joachim is now the only male in a household of struggling, exhausted women. It's here that the cracks in his mind begin to widen. He suffers from chronic bedwetting, long past the age when it should have stopped. Night after night, he wakes in wet sheets. His mother is ashamed. His sisters mock him. The humiliation is constant and relentless. This bedwetting, combined with reports of mistreating animals on the farm, forms part of what psychologists call the McDonald triad, 3 childhood behaviors often found in violent offenders. At school, he struggles. He can't read well. He can't write well. Teachers describe him as slow, withdrawn, almost absent. Intelligence tests later in life will show an IQ between 76 and 78, borderline intellectual disability. He repeats grades multiple times. Other children laugh at him. He has no friends, no allies, no one to defend him. He's a ghost, drifting through life without leaving a mark. In 1948, at age 15, Joachim drops out of school with the education level of a 4th grader. Some sources suggest he never fully learned to read. He finds work as a farmhand, hard, dirty labor that no one else wants. And it's on this farm, sometime in the late 1940s, that something inside him changes forever. He watches a pig being slaughtered. The animal is stunned, hung upside down, and its throat is cut. Blood pours out in a thick, steaming stream. The body convulses, then goes still. The chest is opened. The organs, wet, glistening, still warm, are pulled out and set aside. For most people, this is brutal but necessary. For Joachim, it's a revelation. He can't look away. His heart races, his breathing changes, the sight of the blood, the smell of it, the way the body is opened and transformed from a living thing into meat. It triggers something deep inside him, a powerful, overwhelming response. He doesn't understand it. He can't explain it. But the connection is made. Violence, death, and desire are no longer separate. They're fused. Years later, during police interrogations, he'll describe this as his awakening, the moment when something dormant inside him came to life. Forensic psychologists who later study his case will immediately recognize this pattern, combined with his chronic bedwetting and reports of animal mistreatment, as the McDonald triad, warning signs often found in the backgrounds of violent offenders. But at the time, no one notices. Joachim is just a slow, awkward farm boy with no future. In his early 20s, he makes a clumsy attempt at a relationship with a woman. The encounter ends in shame and humiliation. She rejects him. For Joachim, this confirms what he's always suspected. Real women are too difficult. They judge, they criticize, they reject, they say no. In his mind, a conclusion forms. He needs a partner who cannot refuse him, a partner who will never reject him. In the early 1950s, Joachim moves into a small apartment in the Ruhr region and finds work as a toilet cleaner in industrial factories. It's dirty, degrading work, but it suits him. The job is solitary. He doesn't have to interact with people. He can disappear into the background. Inside his apartment, he creates a private world that no one else sees. He collects inappropriate magazines and children's toys. Sometimes he uses these toys to lure neighborhood children into his flat. He gives them candy, lets them play, smiles at them in the hallway. Parents think he's just a lonely, harmless man who likes children. But the centerpiece of his collection is Molly, a cheap inflatable doll. He dresses her in women's clothes, puts a wig on her head, applies makeup to her plastic face, positions her in his room as if she's waiting for him when he comes home. He talks to her, treats her like a wife. To Joachim, Molly is perfect, always available, never critical, never refusing. She can't say no. She can't laugh at him. She can't reject him. But even Molly isn't enough. The memory of the slaughterhouse, the blood, the opened body, has taken root deep in his mind. It's growing, demanding release, and no amount of fantasy can satisfy it. In early 1955, his mother dies. The family disintegrates completely. Siblings scatter and lose contact. Joachim is left utterly alone. No father, no mother, no siblings who care. Just his apartment, his magazines, his doll, and a mind that has learned to see other human beings as objects. 3 weeks after his mother's death, he commits his first attack. February 8, 1955, a village near Wallstede, outside Ludinghausen in rural North Rhine-Westphalia. 19-year-old Irmgard Strahl is walking alone on a country road. She's drifted through temporary jobs, struggled to find stability. Joachim approaches her, speaks softly, offers help. He invites her to walk with him into the woods. She agrees. When they're alone, he tries to kiss her. She resists, pushes him away, tells him no. He attacks. Violence erupts. She tries to fight back, but he overpowers her. Within minutes, she's gone. After the attack, he violates her remains, then uses his knife to examine the body. He doesn't take anything, not yet. This first time is purely about control, violence, and release. When he's finished, he calmly walks away, boards a bus, and returns to his apartment. He washes away the evidence, sits with Molly, waits. 5 days later, Irmgard's body is found in a barn. The crime horrifies the community. Police investigate but find no clear suspect. The case goes cold. To the outside world, nothing changes. Joachim goes to work, cleans toilets, buys groceries, returns home. But inside him, something has broken free. He's discovered that taking a life brings both satisfaction and deep relief from the pressure building inside him. The tension is gone. He feels calm for the first time in his life, but he knows it won't last. The urge will return, and when it does, he'll need to act again. March 3rd, 1956, just over a year after Irmgard Strahl. Joachim travels to Kirchhellen, now part of Bottrop. 12-year-old Erika Schuletter is walking alone when Joachim approaches her. He lures her away from safety. When they're isolated, he attacks and ends her life. Her body is found later. The pattern is brutal, efficient, methodical. But again, police find no clear suspect. The case goes cold. Joachim returns to his quiet life, works, cleans toilets, sits with Molly, waits for the urge to build again. For the next 3 years, there are no known attacks attributed to him. He takes a break, perhaps trying to control himself, perhaps simply being careful. But the compulsion is still there, lurking beneath the surface. June 16, 1959. Rheinhausen, near the Rhine River. 24-year-old Clara Frieda Tesmer is out for a walk in a popular recreation area. She never makes it home. Her body is found the next day in the meadows near the river. She has been attacked and severely mutilated. Large portions of tissue have been removed with careful, deliberate cuts, as if someone were butchering an animal for meat. This is the first time Joachim takes tissue home. During his later confession, he will admit that, on a whim, he tasted what he'd taken from one of his early victims, likely Clara, and found that he liked it. Thereafter, he began to select victims based on this grotesque criteria, taking parts of their bodies home with him. He processes the tissue, wraps it, stores it in his refrigerator, and later prepares it. He consumes it alone, sitting at his table with Molly positioned nearby. When asked later why he did this, his answer combines two chilling motivations: economic pragmatism and sadistic curiosity. He wanted to save money on food, but he also wanted to know what it was like. The incident leads police to focus on a local man named Heinrich Ott. The evidence is weak, but pressure is intense. He's arrested. Unable to bear the accusation, he takes his own life in his cell. The case is closed. The community breathes easier, but the real perpetrator is still free. Over the next 2 decades, the Ruhr region becomes Joachim Kroll's hunting ground. The Ruhr isn't a single city, it's a sprawling landscape of interconnected industrial towns. Duisburg, Essen, Dinslaken, Wuppertal, Oberhausen, all linked by buses and trains. For someone like Joachim, this landscape is perfect. Police forces in each town operate independently. There's no centralized database, no computer systems to cross-reference crimes, no psychological profiling. Each incident is treated as an isolated tragedy. Joachim develops a routine. After work or on days off, he buys a bus or train ticket to another town, usually within 50 miles. He carries his tools with him. He dresses unremarkably: plain jacket, cheap trousers, glasses, nothing memorable. He's the kind of person you sit next to on a bus and never notice. When he arrives, he walks, parks, riverbanks, playgrounds, train stations. He watches people, looking for someone alone, vulnerable, distracted. Children walking home from school. Teenagers waiting at bus stops. Women walking dogs in isolated areas. He doesn't have one type of victim, which makes him harder to catch. He attacks people ranging from age 4 to 61. Different genders, different ages, day or night, forests, parks, fields, even a parked car. His method is always similar. He approaches with a soft voice, offers help, asks directions, shows pictures or toys, lures the victim away from safety into a place where no one can hear. Then he attacks, overpowers, takes their life. After the attack, he violates the remains. This is not optional. It's essential to the ritual. The act gives him total control. Then, in many cases, comes the final violation. With his knife, he cuts into the body, removes portions of tissue from various areas, cuts carefully, methodically, like butchering an animal, wraps the pieces, then calmly walks back to the bus station and rides home, carrying his grim cargo like groceries. At home, he processes everything, wraps it fresh, and stores it in his refrigerator next to ordinary food. Later, he prepares it, sometimes fried, sometimes stewed with vegetables. Through it all, he remains invisible, goes to work, nods to neighbors, buys groceries, feeds pigeons. The unremarkable man who bothers no one. No one suspects him. No one even notices. But the victims are piling up. But Joachim's invisible terror leaves a dark trail. Innocent men arrested, lives destroyed, families shattered twice over. July 26, 1959. Essen. 16-year-old Manuela Knott disappears. Her body is found days later in a wooded area. She has been attacked and mutilated. Because investigators find multiple traces at the scene, they believe that a group might have been involved. The idea sends the community into a panic. Under intense pressure to solve the case, police interrogate multiple suspects. After months of relentless questioning, a young man confesses. His confession is later determined to be unreliable, extracted under psychological duress, but not before he is convicted and sentenced to 8 years in prison. He serves 5 years before being released. Years later, the truth emerges: he was innocent. Joachim Kroll was responsible. Spring 1962. The town of Dinslaken. 12-year-old Barbara Bruder disappears on her way home from school. Her body is never found. Her family spends years searching, hoping, praying for answers. But there are no answers, only silence. Years later, during his confession, Joachim Kroll will casually admit that he was responsible. He remembers some details, but by the time he confesses, any physical evidence is long gone. Her family never gets closure. They never even get a grave. April 23, 1962, Dinslaken, Bruckhausen. 13-year-old Petra Giese is walking home from a friend's house when Joachim Kroll approaches her. He attacks her and takes her life. This time, he does something even more disturbing. He severs parts of her body and takes them home, storing them for later consumption. The police investigation turns to a man named Vincenz Kuhn. Under extreme psychological pressure during repeated interrogations, he confesses. He is convicted and sentenced to prison. He serves 6 years, 6 years of his life stolen for something he didn't do. 6 years while the real perpetrator walks free, cleaning toilets, smiling at neighbors, feeding pigeons. June 4th, 1962. Walsum. 12-year-old Monica Taffel is walking to school when she disappears. Her body is found in a field. She has been attacked and mutilated. Large portions of tissue have been removed. A local man named Walter Quicker is arrested and publicly labeled responsible. Even though the evidence against him is weak, even though he is eventually released without charge, the stain remains. His neighbors turn against him. People spit at him in the street. Children throw rocks at his windows. His name is ruined. His life is destroyed. Unable to bear the weight of the accusation, the endless harassment, the looks of hatred and suspicion wherever he goes, Walter Quicker takes his own life. He was innocent. He had done nothing wrong. But the community needed someone to blame, and he was convenient. By the mid-1960s, the pattern is clear. Joachim Kroll is not only taking victims, his crimes are creating secondary casualties. Innocent men arrested, imprisoned, driven to end their own lives. Families destroyed twice, once by violence and again by injustice. By the mid-1960s, Joachim begins to experiment. August 22, 1965. Near a lake outside Duisburg, 25-year-old Hermann Schmitz sits in his Volkswagen with his fiancée, planning their future. Marriage, a home, children. Joachim sabotages their tire. When Hermann steps out to check, Joachim rushes forward and attacks him with a knife, aiming for vital areas. Hermann collapses. Inside the car, the fiancée reacts instantly. She jumps into the driver's seat, slams the horn, and accelerates toward Joachim with headlights blazing. Panicked, he flees into the darkness. She survives. Hermann doesn't. Her quick thinking saves her life. This is one of the few times Joachim faces real resistance, and he runs. September 15, 1966. A park near Marl, in Furstebusch Park. 20-year-old Ursula Rohling has a simple date with her boyfriend Adolf Schickel. Ice cream, talk, plans for a wedding. They part ways. She walks home through the park. 2 days later, her body is found. She's been attacked. Police focus on Adolf. He was the last to see her. Under relentless pressure, devastated by grief and accusation, he jumps from a bridge into the main river. He drowns. Years later, the truth comes out. Joachim was responsible. Adolf was innocent. But by then, he's already gone. Another secondary victim. Another life destroyed. December 22, 1966. Wuppertal. 5-year-old Ilona Hark is taken by Joachim from Essen. This time he wants to experiment with a different method. He takes her by train to Wuppertal on a cold winter day. He makes her walk with him until he finds an isolated location with water. He ends her life there. Afterward, he removes a portion of tissue from her body as part of his grotesque experimentation with different areas and ages. June 1967, outside of a town in the area near Grafenhausen. 10-year-old Gabriele is approached by Joachim. He has inappropriate materials with him. He manages to persuade the girl to accompany him to a meadow where he promises to show her a rabbit. But instead, he shows her inappropriate pictures. Alarmed, she tries to leave, but he detains her and begins to attack her. However, at that exact moment, a nearby coal mine sounds its siren for a change in shifts. Startled, Kroll sees men streaming out of the gates. Afraid of being seen, he releases her and runs, thinking she won't survive. Gabriele wakes up. She's alive. But her terrified parents, fearing the attacker will return to eliminate the only witness, decide not to go to police. She becomes the only known victim of Joachim Kroll to survive. By the early 1970s, Joachim has been operating for more than 15 years. July 12, 1969, a forested recreation area at Hückeswagen, south of Essen. 61-year-old Maria Hetken is out for a walk, enjoying the fresh air and the peace of the forest. She is Joachim's oldest known victim. When he sees her, he feels the familiar urge, the pressure building inside. He attacks her in an isolated area. When he's finished, he calmly walks back to the trail, boards a bus, and goes home. May 21st, 1970. Breitscheid. 13-year-old Jutta Rahn is walking home from a train station through a wooded area when she encounters Joachim Kroll. She disappears. Her body is found days later. Her boyfriend, Peter Shea, becomes the prime suspect. He is interrogated repeatedly. The mass hysteria from the public and the community pressure force his neighbors to demand justice. After years of harassment and suspicion, Peter Shea gives a false confession in 1976. He will later retract it, but the damage is already done. May 8, 1976. Werdohl. 10-year-old Karen Toppel becomes another victim. By this point, the investigation into the string of incidents across the Ruhr region has stalled completely. Police departments are overwhelmed. Evidence is lost. Witnesses' memories fade. The cases go cold, one after another. And then comes Marion. July 2nd, 1976. The Lahr district of Duisburg. 4-year-old Marion Ketter is playing in the courtyard of her apartment building on Friesenstrasse. It's a warm summer day. Children are running around, laughing, playing games. Parents watch from windows, keeping a casual eye on their kids. Marion is a sweet, blonde little girl full of energy and curiosity. She is well known in the building. Everyone knows her. Everyone smiles when they see her. Joachim Kroll has seen her many times before. He has spoken to her in the hallway. He has given her candy. She knows him as Uncle Joachim. At some point during the afternoon, Marion disappears. One moment she is playing with other children. The next moment she is gone. Her mother searches the courtyard, calling her name. She asks the other children if they have seen Marion. No one has. She checks the stairwells, the hallways, the nearby streets. Nothing. By evening, panic sets in. Marion's parents contact the police. Officers arrive and begin going door to door, asking if anyone has seen the little girl. No one has, or at least no one admits it. What no one knows, what no one could possibly imagine, is that Marion is already gone. Her small body is already being processed in an apartment just a few floors above where the police are standing. Joachim Kroll has lured her into his flat and ended her life. He works methodically, carefully, using the same tools he has used on so many others. He attempts to dispose of evidence through the toilet. He removes portions of tissue and wraps them for storage. He begins to prepare what he's taken. The smell fills the apartment. To anyone passing by, it would smell like a simple, ordinary dinner. But the old pipes in the building cannot handle what Joachim is trying to flush away. They are old, narrow, already strained. And now they are clogged. The next day, the smell in the hallway is unbearable. The toilet will not flush. And when Oskar Müller goes to investigate, Joachim Kroll calmly tells him the truth about what's blocking the pipes. In custody, Joachim doesn't act like a mastermind trying to outwit police. He seems almost relieved, cooperative, even friendly. The guards seem to enjoy him, and he likewise seems to appreciate where he is. He keeps up his good sense of humor. Within a few days, as he feels more comfortable, he reveals that he is responsible for a number of similar incidents, even taking credit for cases for which other men had been suspected, even convicted. At first, he confesses only to Marion, but the floodgates open quickly. He admits to 13, perhaps 14, attacks over 2 decades. Kroll shows the police where several had taken place, apparently surprising them, as they had failed to link multiple cases as the work of a single offender. His confession is long, complicated, and often quite shocking. To verify his claims, police drive him across the Ruhr region. At forests, fields, and riverbanks, he points out where he approached victims, where he attacked them, what he did afterward. Sometimes he remembers more than police ever knew. Details about weather, terrain, nearby objects. He draws maps with surprising accuracy. Photographs are taken during these reconstructions. In them, Joachim stands calmly at the exact spot where someone died, pointing, explaining. His face shows no distress, just dull cooperation. He also provides details that exonerate wrongly accused men. He describes incidents in detail that only the real perpetrator could know. For families of those who ended their own lives, Heinrich Ott, Walter Quicker, Adolf Schickel, this confirmation comes far too late. Psychiatrists examine Joachim. They find limited intelligence, but powerful, repetitive compulsions. He describes his urges as a physical buildup, a sensation that spreads through his body. The longer he goes without acting, the stronger it becomes. When he acts, the pressure drops, and he feels relief. He shows practically no empathy. He doesn't spontaneously express guilt. When asked if he feels sorry, he either gives flat answers or seems genuinely confused by what exactly he is supposed to feel. Experts diagnose him as a severely disturbed individual with developmental deficits. Importantly, they conclude he is not legally insane. He knew his actions were forbidden, could plan, could hide evidence, could lie. That means full responsibility under German law. The strangest element is his belief about the future. Kroll accepts that he has some kind of sickness, and he asks for medical intervention so that he can return home. Naively, he believes that now that he is caught, it will be a simple matter of treatment. He is convinced doctors will perform an operation that removes his urges, then release him. October 4th, 1979. The trial of Joachim Kroll begins in Duisburg. It starts 3 years after his arrest and lasts 151 days, one of the longest criminal trials in German history. He is formally charged with 8 incidents and 1 attempted attack. Although he has confessed to more, not all can be legally tied to him beyond reasonable doubt. Some victims' remains are missing, some crime scenes have been destroyed, some evidence has disappeared. The courtroom is packed. Families of the victims sit in the gallery, listening to clinical descriptions of how their loved ones died. Journalists from across Germany fill the press benches. The prosecution presents forensic reports, crime scene photographs, testimonies from neighbors and co-workers, psychiatric evaluations, and Joachim's own confessions. Joachim sits quietly through most of the trial. He does not lash out. He does not cry. When asked to confirm details, he nods or answers briefly. He shows no remorse, no emotion, just dull, passive acceptance. Some families also learn for the first time that men accused of these crimes, Heinrich Ott, Walter Quicker, Vinzenz Kuhn, Adolf Schickel, were innocent. The tragedy multiplies. Not only were their loved ones taken, but others suffered imprisonment, public shaming, and despair because the real perpetrator was never found. Psychiatric experts testify that Joachim is not legally insane, but deeply disturbed. The defense argues his low IQ and difficult childhood should be considered. The prosecution counters that his ability to plan, travel, and evade capture shows criminal responsibility. On April 8, 1982, the verdict, guilty on all counts. The sentence, 9 life terms. As the verdict is read, Joachim shows no reaction. He is led away in handcuffs, still believing an operation will one day cure him. Joachim Kroll is sent to Rheinbach prison. Quiet, cooperative, model prisoner. For years he keeps asking, "When will the doctors operate on me?" He genuinely believes they'll cure him with surgery and release him. No one tells him the truth. There is no operation. There never will be. July 1st, 1991. Heart attack in his cell, age 58. Gone within minutes. His death barely makes the news. No family claims the body. Buried in an unmarked grave. He vanishes as invisibly in death as he lived in life. The final count, 8 attacks proven, 13 to 14 confessed, possibly more. Victims ranged from 4-year-old Marion to 61-year-old Maria. One survivor, 10-year-old Gabriele, saved by a coal mine siren. 6 innocent men arrested. 3 ended their own lives. Others imprisoned for years. These are the secondary victims, destroyed by a system that couldn't see the real perpetrator. How did a man with an IQ of 76 evade capture for 21 years? Fragmented police, no databases, no profiling, and most importantly, invisibility. He was the man you passed on the stairs and forgot. The toilet cleaner, the quiet neighbor who gave children candy, too ordinary to notice, too forgettable to suspect. For 2 decades, parents warned children about monsters in the woods, but the real monster lived one door away. That is the true horror. Not that he was extraordinary, but that he was nobody. On July 3, 1976, a clogged toilet accomplished what 20 years of police work could not. Joachim Kroll died in 1991, still waiting for an operation that would never come. He is gone, but the scars remain. This is the legacy of an invisible monster.